who are harnessing the power of entrepreneurial imagination to make a positive difference to their immediate communities and to the world. We are all aware that there is the pressing necessity to tackle climate change. Environmental degradation and resource scarcity is there. There is no any more doubt that the future belongs to the renewable energy solutions, sustainable and circular business practices, and innovative and sustainable market economy. To mitigate climate change and to achieve a sustainable economy, we need mostly human ingenuity and human innovation, including women, the women part of the human world, the humanity. The future belongs to innovative solutions that helps us reduce our environmental footprint. The future belongs to products and services that will be produced with less energy and resources. That's why the Embassy of Switzerland partners with Climate Innovation Center in establishing the digital platform www.greenstartups.ng, the first publicly accessible virtual marketplace in Nigeria for startups to transact their business, meet other startups as an exchange platform, collaborate, as well as to expose to investment and financing opportunity. There are four main immediate goals that we want to achieve. First, mostly important is visibility and trust building. It means that Nigerian green businesses become more visible for national and international investments. Second, it is also a platform of exchange, networking, and synergy among entrepreneurs, that they can also exchange ideas, build synergies, and in this way to build also the Nigerian green business ecosystem. Third, it's also an inspiration and a role model for potential future founders. And last but not least is also a drive that will enhance also the concept of the small and medium-sized enterprise, and the concept that and the value that we give to this sector, to the whole economy, because as we know that SMEs play an important role both in Swiss economy and in Nigerian economy. I just want to have some statistic. According to the Federal Statistic Office of Switzerland, Swiss and medium-sized enterprise, they represent more than 90% of companies and create 2/3 of the jobs in our country. I had the chance to interact with many Nigerian sustainable business founders, and I have to say my observation is that women already play a leading role in the Nigerian green business ecosystem. I met several resilient, thriving women who are building up their enterprises from scratch with passion, care about community and innovation. That's why for me, the focus of today's roundtable is not how to promote women green entrepreneurship, because women already have an entrepreneurial spirit. It's inborn. More precisely, the question is how to better and more efficiently harness the women entrepreneurship in order to produce wealth and well-being for the benefits of the economic growth, environment, and society. This gender disparity is not only a social and systematic issue for gender equality, but also a missed opportunity for the economy. That's why, dear founders, women, entrepreneurs, it is important that you share your story and your journey honestly, because every story is a role model. It's a mentoring and inspiration for other women to take the same path, to take the courage to become entrepreneurs themselves. And I want to conclude actually as in my capacity as a mother and an educator. We don't have to forget one thing, that children are great imitators. So we have to give them something great to imitate. Thank you very much for your active participation and looking forward for a productive discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raya. Thank you so much. One thing that stood out for me is the fact that through your experience, interacting with a lot of green entrepreneurs in Nigeria, you've come to discover that we as women in this space, we are not lacking in our participation. Instead, we are looking for ways to foster and harness the inborn entrepreneurial spirit that we have to create innovation, create technology, to increase inclusion of women and children in this space. It is very exciting for us as an organization because we always try as much as possible to ensure that we don't leave women out of what we are doing in the green economy space. Going forward in our conversation today, I can see that a lot of the participants on this call are also women, and I know that a very good amount of them are also founders. So I would like to give a kind of background information to set the pace for this conversation going forward. Could you please? So some background information just to set the pace for the conversation is first of all, our interaction as for the participants on this call, just to make sure that we have decorum, we have the host has muted everyone. And so if you have the need to ask a question while someone is speaking or one of the speakers are speaking, kindly do well to use the chat box, or you raise your hand and the host will unmute you. And also to make sure that the session is very engaging and fun for everyone, we have set up some polls that we can use to assess our knowledge and make sure that the session is engaging and fun for everyone. Yes, as women, we are here to have fun. We're here to discuss, share ideas, and move our sector forward. And then at the end of the session, we'll be having a question and answer segment where you get the opportunity to ask questions. You ask speakers questions, maybe based on their experiences, based on their success stories and their journey so far. We are all women, and one thing that is very common for us women is the fact that we learn from each other's experience, and we try to implement it, and most times the results are always very rewarding. So without further ado, I would like to invite our guest speaker, keynote speaker for this event, Ms. Yemi Kerry. She's on the call already. Ms. Yemi. Ms. Yemi, is she on the call?
Thank you. Now I have my voice. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for having me. As the keynote speaker. My name is Yemi Kerry, and I run a digital transformation company. It's called Hackabella. And with another hat, I run Rising Tide Africa, which is a group of female angel investors. And what we're trying to do is increase women's participation in angel investing. The theme of this session today is on the importance of building and investing in female-led startups in the green technology space. As we move forward to a more sustainable future, it is imperative that we leverage the individual strengths and perspectives of all members of our society, including women entrepreneurs. Green technology is synonymous with striking a sustainable balance in our environment. So it is therefore vital as a people that we must act responsibly to ensure a great future for the next generation. green technology is increasingly becoming of interest to society and socially responsible investors. My keynote speech would touch on various aspects of green technology, and I would then narrow down to speak about the funding gap for the gender funding gap that we have been canvassing for, and we have been striving so that we can close year on year. The green economy landscape for women is evolving and gaining momentum. Raya alluded to that in her statement. It recognizes the importance of empowering women as key drivers of change in the transition of a more sustainable and equitable economy. Women are often disproportionately affected by environmentally degradation and climate change, and are more also underrepresented in decision-making roles in the green economy. We are the ones that have to go to the, that would require for us to use water to cook. And if there is environment degradation, we are the one that feel the first impact in something as important as water, not to talk about the changes that are going on in the climate today. There are several initiatives aimed at promoting women's involvement and leadership in the green economy, such as training and education programs, mentorship opportunities, accelerators, and incubation hubs. And let's not forget what we have heard this morning also about the marketplace that Raya and the team are putting in place, that gives visibility and allows for transaction and exchange within the ecosystem. There are other initiatives as well, like the digital incubation hubs that is going to be able to enable you as a founder, do your MVP. You have an incubation hub that enables you to develop your product or service, and at a very subsidized rate. These are initiatives that are there, and it is important that you take advantage of them. However, there are still significant gaps in terms of gender equality and opportunity for women to fully participate in the green economies. There are such issues as unequal access to resources, discriminatory practices, and lack of political representation continues to hold women back. If the women that are in places of responsibility or have political opportunities do not make the requisite representation for women to be heard, then we still are underrepresented. And then, of course, there's always the big elephant, which is funding. One of the biggest funding gaps in sustainable business is the lack of investment opportunities for companies that are not yet profitable. A lot of investors are looking for the next big unicorn. And so those sustainable businesses, particularly those with innovative or untested business models, require significant investments before they can turn to profit. However, investors often prioritize businesses that are already established businesses as profitable, leaving many sustainable businesses struggling to secure the funding they need to get off the ground. The Nigerian Climate Incubation Center gives an environment for you to be able to nurture your business. However, they also in the same vein are trying their best to see how they can bring in investors and showcase the businesses in which you're working with. But the kind of investors that normally come into certain spaces are those that are looking for businesses that have the profits or the MVP, or they have profitable business and they talk about EBITDA. And so this creates a major funding gap for sustainable businesses. Another funding gap in sustainable business is the inadequate government supports. We are advocating that government should provide tax initiatives, incentives, and grants for sustainable businesses. And it is the necessary support. It is very necessary so that they can enable them grow and thrive. The lack of awareness of investors about the potential financial benefits of sustainable businesses is something that we need to emphasize. Many investors still view sustainable businesses as less profitable than traditional businesses, even though research has shown that sustainable businesses can be just as profitable, if not more, than their less sustainable counterparts. You know, we are in a space that in the next decade, a lot of people will be veering to enter. Statistics or reports by the IFC, the Mansa, are showing that in the next decade, that is by 2030, the 10 fastest growing economies in the world will be in the continent of Africa. And definitely Nigeria being on top. What does that tell us? That 1 in 4 people in the world will come from Nigeria. And in so doing, we would need to prepare the infrastructure that will enable us have an environment suitable for the future of our generation. And so predominantly the sustainable business, whether it's green tech or clean tech or renewable energy or waste to wealth, would become such a core sector in enabling us people live in this country, not to talk about the continent. So the green economy space is therefore very important. And so, many governments are beginning to, look at this space and try to see what they can do to ensure that there would not be a crisis when the population growth begins to happen. And it has already started. So overall, the green economy landscape for women is dynamic, and it's a growing field with both challenges and opportunities. With continued effort to empower and support women, the green economy can become even more inclusive, sustainable, and effective in addressing environmental and societal challenges that we might have to face when the population spikes. Today, I have been asked to focus really on the issue that continues to persist in the world of female entrepreneurship, and that is the funding gap for women-led startups. Starting a business in itself, it always starts from, your idea, your dream, your passion. And it's almost always a dream or a passion to solve a problem, to improve or to create something totally new and be innovative. Unfortunately, for many women entrepreneurs, the funding that needs to scale these businesses is harder to secure than it is for our male counterparts. Despite the advancement in gender equality, there continues to be a significant disparity when it comes to funding access to women-led startups. And let me just share some numbers from the reports, and I'm sure some of us are aware of all of these statistics. The research has shown that women-led startups receive a mere fraction of the funding compared to male counterparts. That is already known, and that is why we have year on year the International Women's Day, for us to recognize and also create that awareness that we are still here, we are still convincing, and we are still forging ahead with our rights and our rights for a better and sustainable way in which women can survive. The Big Deal report, that is a report that creates a database of funding deals from across the continent, reports that in 2022, 97%, that's just last year, 97% of the total funding went to startups led by male. And there is no sign of a positive trend in the future, as the percentage of funding going to female-led organizations keep oscillating between 3% and 6%. And this has been occurring since 2019. While 2022 was a good year for male-led startups in Africa, female-led startups only attracted $188 million in funding last year, representing only 4% of the total funding raised on the continent. Female-led and female-funded ventures attracted even less funding in 2022 than in the previous year. So what is happening? It is not due to lack of talent or innovative ideas. Rather, a systematic issue in the investor community. And we are trying as best as possible to address this. The majority of investors are men. And this lack of diversity in decision-making has resulted into a gender bias that has been difficult for women-led startups to overcome. This is the main reason why Rising Tide Africa, which is an angel network that I run, is increasing women's participation in angel investing. We want to see this as an asset class. Why? Because we prioritize female-owned, female-led, and gender-diverse businesses. And we do early stage funding. Because for us to be able to close the gap, this gender bias and gender funding gap, it has to start with the businesses at the lower end, at the early stage, that are not yet profitable, that have, not only ideation, you must be able to have created some business traction or service, so that we as angel investors are able to see that this may be a viable business, and we'll be able to inject our funds, not only funds, we give accelerator programs and mentorship. And so we are looking and saying that to close the gender funding gap, one of the critical things that must occur would be more women that are in the investor space, because they understand, they empathize, and they can see like for like with the female founders. Closing the gender gap for women-led startup is not just a matter of fairness, it is also an economic imperative. Some researches, let me reel out some outcome of some researches about women-led businesses and how we are saying that it is an economic imperative. We have repeatedly heard that gender diverse teams, which results in a wider range of creativity and innovation, and it also leads to better financial outcomes for companies. So who won't want a business that will give us better financial outcomes? Not to mention that investing in women-led startups has the potential to tap into untapped markets and bring innovative solutions to the fore. It's also important to note the societal impact, as insights show that women tend to launch businesses with a greater focus on solving real-world issues like sustainability and healthcare access. By giving women more power over investment decisions and addressing economic inclusions more broadly, the impact becomes even more profound. With all this in our mind, what can we do to close the funding gap of women-led startups? Closing the gender funding gap requires a multifaceted approach, including various stakeholders across different levels. I've spoken about more women being investors. We need to challenge our implicit biases and ensure that we are creating an inclusive environment where women are given equal opportunities to pitch their ideas. As an investor, we need to commit to fund an equal number of women and men. So if I have a pot of $100,000, I want to be able to allocate to 50% of it to men and 50% to women. If all investors did this, we would then have an equitable opportunity to pitch our ideas. I would also want to quote Adesuwa Okunbo-Rhodes, who is one of the 10 venture funds on the continent led by women. She says, I think the trouble with the ecosystem today is that we don't have enough women deploying capital. When these women enter a room, they are pitching their ideas to 5 or 8 guys. Until we have that representation in the people making the investment decision and the people allocating the capital, we will continue to see this disparity in terms of percentage of funding going to male entrepreneurs. So to tackle these issues, there needs to be a collective effort to increase the number of female investors across boards. And then there's providing mentoring and training programs that help women build the skills necessary to succeed in investing industry. There are so many programs, mentoring programs that we as women need to start attending. We need to provide this mentoring and networking opportunities because there are so many fewer ones when it comes to network. I mean, the women entrepreneurs often have fewer networking opportunities than their male counterparts. It makes it harder for us to access. So, when you go and I tell investors, even if you're not going to invest in a female entrepreneur, please, because of your own philosophy, please, why don't you introduce them to 2 or 3 other investors that might want to invest? And then we are also talking about mentoring. Mentoring is not only about mentoring on one-on-one. We need to start looking at corporate mentorship. What do I mean by that? I have a major, as a company that is in the renewables energy space. I need to be able to then mentor, startups in that same space. Because as I am mentoring them, I am not only passing on ideas to them, but I'm educating them in the same vein and providing them that support, the business support that I already have as an entity, and look at them as an entity that I may be able to invest in. On encouraging and supporting diversity in investments. This I have talked about. Educating addressing societal and cultural biases. This is one of the ways in which we can reduce the funding gap. Addressing gender stereotypes and biases will help us unlock the full potential of women entrepreneurs and help them access the funding and support that they require. We also need to look at governments and in terms of governments and private insurance, we must create targeted programs that provide funding and sources specifically for women. This can include funds that solely invest in women startups. We can include tax incentives for investors who fund women startups, and grants and loans that enable women-led startups to get their capital they need. In conclusion today, I'm closing the gender funding gap for women-led startups is not just a matter of equity, but it is also a sound economic decision. It will require a collective effort from all of us to create a more inclusive environment that is responsive to the needs of women entrepreneurs. I believe that by working together, we can create a future where innovation is not limited to gender, but rather fueled by diversity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much for your session. So it's really insightful, and also thank you very much for addressing the issue that in order to close the gender gap in terms of investment for women startups, we also need to address the issue of having more women make these decisions in terms of who gets investments, who gets funding, and all of that. And we are also thankful that NCIC over the years, we've tried as much as possible to create that balance when it comes to access to finance, ensuring that as many female entrepreneurs that come through our pipeline, a good number of them get the funding that they need to scale their startup. And one of our success stories is Chiemela, and she's on this call. She's going to be addressing one of the major issues that women founders also face, which is gender stereotypes and inequality. For everyone on this call, thank you for being patient and being with us up to this point. I would want to, give a poll so that we can see, just make sure that everyone is still following the session. So once it pops up on your screen, please give us your response so that we can, just have fun with it. Yeah, I hope we can see it. So the question says, do you believe investing in a women-led startup is profitable? And for 80% of everyone on this call, we all agree that yes, investing in a women-led startup is profitable. So I would want to invite our guest speaker to speak. Frances is an associate at Olon. Olon is a renewable energy investment company, and over the years they have partnered with us, the NCIC, to provide funding for renewable energy startups. And trust me, we've had a lot of success stories. We have a lot of women who have received this funding, and they've been able to scale their green businesses, and the results have been tremendous. Thank you so much, Frances. I think you can unmute yourself to.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you so much to the NCIC team and green startups.ng for the invitation. Greetings to everyone here on the call today. Greetings to, okay, I see Bankole is on the call. Greetings to all of my co-panelists, and of course, our business founders that are within the All On Hub pipeline. I see Chiamela is here, as well as Mrs. Damilala. Thank you so much for having me. So I'll reiterate a bit of what Adora has said. My name is Frances Udukwu, and it's a real honor to be here in my capacity as a business advisory associate for the All On Hub. And I'm essentially responsible for delivering impactful growth through programmatic and strategic planning, specifically in the development of a pipeline of businesses across early stage to growth stages of business. And that pipeline is essentially meant to be developed into more investable, scalable, and sustainable energy enterprises. So I'll give a bit of a spiel on All On as a company, and then the All On Hub. So All On is an off-grid, for those who aren't as familiar, is an off-grid energy impact investment firm seeded by Shell Nigeria. And our aim is to meaningfully bridge the significant access to energy gap. And we do that in 3 ways. 1, by providing debt and equity investments at a range of sizes. Secondly, by enabling there's a bit of an echo. I don't know if it's coming from my end. Shall I proceed?
Please, you can. Apologies.
Right. Oh, no worries. As I was saying, so All On is an off-grid energy impact investment firm seeded by Shell Nigeria, and our aim is to meaningfully close the significant access to energy gap. And we do that in 3 ways. 1, by providing debt and equity investments at a range of sizes. Also by enabling facilities that leverage capital for the off-grid sector. And 3rd, by fostering a supportive business and regulatory environment for companies to thrive. Now, the All On Hub is a part of the fostering supportive business and regulatory environment. And it's a sponsored hub, as the name denotes, by the Rockefeller Foundation. And we provide non-commercial support to help businesses build their capabilities across ideation, angel, market entry, and growth stages of businesses here in Nigeria. So before I continue, our office is having a bit of a fluctuation in network, and I want to ensure that I'm more audible than visible. So I'll cut my video off and come back on once we do the question and answer. All right, so I'd like to first start with us taking a look at the current landscape for female founders. And I believe that our keynote speaker, Ms. Yemi, shared a wealth of information in that regard in terms of what statistics look like. So I'll reiterate a bit of what she's mentioned and then dive right into the meat of what I'm meant to discuss here today. All right, so globally, women control roughly 20 trillion USD in annual customer spending, yet innovation and investments remain decisively in the hands of men. Women-run businesses also account for roughly 2% of all venture capital investment. And when it comes to the allocation of capital, just 13% in the UK and 9% in the US are women. And as ascribed by Ms. Yemi, those numbers are far less here on the continent of Africa. So overall, we see that there's a significant gender disparity in investments, innovation, decision-making, as it regards access to financial capital. And to think that post-pandemic also helped exaggerate the situation and has disproportionately affected women in companies the more. Contrarily, it's proven that women make better entrepreneurs. We've heard that. Companies with female founders perform 63% better than those of their male peers. Women-led businesses are more likely to be focused on making a social contribution. And of course, women-led businesses or a company with a female founder or executive will hire 6 times more women to join their teams. But clearly, all the arguments in favor of supporting women-led businesses have not been enough to turn the tide amongst potential investors. So I'll say that the solution isn't just for VCs to suddenly start supporting startups simply because they're founded by women, but rather to get rid of the institutional patterns and thinking that make women-led enterprises appear least preferred. So with the time that I've been allotted, I'll spend a bit of my segment speaking from the impact investment side of things. And I'll be sharing on the following: the difference between venture capital and impact investing, Allon's viewpoint when it comes to investing in businesses, how to become an investable company, and how we at Allon are supporting women-led companies. All right, so let's dive right in. First, so difference between venture capital and impact investing. So venture capital firms make private equity investments in disruptive companies with high potential returns over a period of time, while impact investments are investments made with the intention to generate positive, measurable social and environmental impact, and in some cases alongside a financial return. So to be clear, impact investing isn't new. If we look back at some statistics from the Global Impact Investing Network, 60% of organizations have been making impact investments for over 20 years now. However, a growing number of new organizations have joined the ranks and made their first impact investment over the last 10 years. So impact investors are essentially challenging the assumption that development is to be reached by philanthropy only. And our aim is to prove that investments can be achieved both, that our investments can be achieved both a financial return and a positive impact. So for instance, at the same time here at Allon, we operate as a sustainable, evergreen, for-profit social enterprise, pursuing a commercially oriented model where proceeds are channeled back into the fund to finance further investments in the off-grid space. So we seek both financial return and social impact to provide and to improve access to energy for millions of households and SMEs. And we do that, as I previously stated, we do that by providing grant, debt, and equity capital to early and growth stages of businesses. Now, our viewpoint or perspective when it comes to investing in businesses. So we identify companies with innovative solutions that have potential for success. And from there, we provide financing, strong governance, and technical assistance. So we invest in off-grid energy solutions spanning solar, wind, hydro, biomass, gas technologies, deployed by foreign and local access to energy companies that complement the available grid power across Nigeria and help close the significant energy gap. And as I mentioned a bit earlier, when I was giving a spiel on my responsibilities here at Allon, and I mentioned working with businesses from early stage onto growth stages of business. We've kind of categorized the stages of business to give clarity in terms of how you define a business at each stage. So I'll go through what those stages are to give you context and a bit of insight in terms of how we go about investing in companies and categorizing them. So the stages of business we work with, it starts from ideation stage onward to market entry. So ideation stage businesses typically aren't really businesses yet. And the ideation stage or phase is also where we brought in partners like NCIC. And businesses at that stage usually just have an idea. They, of course, have limited structure. They may or may not have a product they're offering, and most likely won't have a full brand, a full brand. So at that stage, it's mainly a concept, no traction, and the aim is to essentially prove your concept by the end of that phase. Then we also work with angel stage businesses. Angel stage businesses are also very early stage businesses, but they're registered. Most times are registered. They usually have nascent structure and a very early product or product design and brand. At that stage, they most likely would be going through a piloting stage or testing stage, or trying to create a prototype that will eventually lead them to testing. And of course, they wouldn't have generated much revenue at all at angel stage. Then growth stage of business. So we work with businesses in this category who are established, usually post-pilot, and should have a customer or some sort of database. And by this stage, they would typically be generating revenue and are ready to scale. At the growth stage of business, these businesses may be eligible for up to $3 million in debt or equity from Allon, and potential follow-on funding as to further scale their entities and roll out more product offerings. Then at market entry stage, so these businesses are established, and most of the time they're either foreign off-grid energy companies entering the Nigerian market, or Nigerian companies in adjacent sectors entering the off-grid energy space. So they're typically larger companies that need support in terms of how to legally operate in this region, and may or may not need additional capital. So it's more on the technical assistance and structuring front that they need most of our support. And I'm sure that as the conversation progresses, if you have further questions in terms of the stages of business and what sort of support Allon provides at each stage, I'd be happy to answer that. So I'll move right on to how to become investable. And like I mentioned, I'm speaking from my capacity as a business advisory associate as part of the Allon Hub. Allon Hub being a facet of Allon that is dedicated to ensuring that there's a supportive environment and creating the platform for businesses to not only receive commercial assistance, but to also receive non-commercial assistance, meaning technical support, mentorship, as Ms. Yemi mentioned earlier. And we've gotten to the stage where we will soon be working with businesses in terms of creating a maker space where they would have full-on prototyping assistance, wireframing, and the eventual support needed to create an MVP that can be piloted. So I'll say this, from my experience working on the team for about 3+ years now, how to become investable. And I'd like to think that I've kind of fashioned this to speak directly to the women founders here today. First thing I'll say is apply. We see that many women-led businesses, I'm not sure if it's due to low confidence or just due to the fact that you may not see your counterparts applying to the same opportunities, but many women-led businesses tend to shy away from opportunities to pitch or to participate in investor-facing engagements. So the first thing I would say is to become investable, apply. Secondly, I would say to become investable, figure out a way to demonstrate financial sustainability or the potential for financial sustainability. So that could be a proposal showing the investment period, and most times we start off with approximately 3 months of revenue or cash flow generation. Now, I do get a lot of feedback in terms of businesses who are on the earlier stage. So we're talking ideation and maybe even angel stage, and may not have the capacity to prove financial sustainability or viability. One of the things I say is what we're looking for at that juncture is for you to essentially prove that you have a track record. So if you're not able to show revenue or cash flow or sales for that matter, how about showing pre-orders? How about showing market surveys, responses to your market surveys, and possible email listings or signups? The point is we want to see that there's a record of people who not only are willing to take up on this product or offering, but would actually be potential customers that can afford and would find your product of good use. Then I'd say to become more investable, know your service obtainable market. So take the time to profile them, do the actual groundwork, whether that's in the form of physically dispersing a team that goes out to meet potential customers, or whether that's in the form of creating digital or paper surveys to get a gist of what your customers are really looking to solve as it pertains to their households, their SMEs, or their day-to-day livelihoods. And I'd also like to emphasize service obtainable market, and not just your target addressable market. So this is the actual market that you'd be working with, and that would be real direct customers. Then I'll say to be investable, get as close as you can to creating your product. So I do understand that at very early stages, it may be quite difficult if you haven't received any form of funding to produce a product at all. But I would say that get as close, as I've previously mentioned, get as close as you can to your product. So what does that mean? Even if that means coming up with a wireframe design, a mock-up, a high-level drawing, whatever you can do pre-prototype to give potential investors, mentors, or support teams a gist of what it is you're exactly trying to build. So get as close as you can to developing or showing your product. Then I would say to become more investable, master telling your story. Master telling your story effectively, compellingly, but also in a believable way. So there's no need to be over the top or extremely dramatic. Tell the truth, but ensure that it's something that you've actually taken the time to iterate and to ensure that there's a holistic understanding of why you're trying to solve this particular problem. Now, to be investable, again, be a coachable founder. I say this all the time to my colleagues that I love working with entrepreneurs that are easy to work with. You can have the most amazing product or offering, but if it's difficult to engage with you, the likelihood of an investor or third party to consider you for follow-on funding or for any form of support will be quite slim. So be a coachable founder, be a founder that's easy to engage with, a flexible founder, reliable founder. Next would be demonstrate a proven track record of related experience. So on your team, being able to collectively demonstrate or illustrate how every member has a key contributing factor in terms of building out this very product. And even if it isn't, for instance, I mentioned, as a company, we work within the off-grid energy space, but even if it isn't an engineer that's on your team, for instance, being able to demonstrate how for example, the customer service rep is qualified to generate the sort of leads that you would need to thrive as a company is really important. So I'm saying this in the capacity of, yes, being able to show related educational or technical skill set, but also being able to show that even people on your team who may not have a technical background or a directly transferable skill, how they contribute to the big picture of your company achieving its goal. And I'll quickly rush through, sorry, I think I'm eating up some of the time ahead. To be more investable, express clearly how your company will benefit a marginalized group. And I guess I'm speaking from my hat of being a part of an investment firm, but I do think that even if you were to meet a traditional VC, just ideally showing how your company makes positive impact. And if you're a women-led business, it would also be great if you've done the work to understand how your product or your offering, it will impact female beneficiaries. Next, clearly identify who the female owners or management is. We use the phrase women-led on our team, but for us, that doesn't just mean a female CEO. That also means management staff or management employees on your team who are women. So it's also great to ensure that you highlight that across board. Know your competitors and know what makes you stand out, essentially your value proposition. I'm sure we're all quite familiar with that. Explain tangible improvements in the lives. I mentioned that previously, being able to explain tangible improvements in the lives of other women and girls that your company is targeting in terms of capacity building or employment, et cetera. And just a heads up, Mrs. Damilola from Ashdam has done an extraordinary job doing that with her firm, and I'm sure she'll share more on how they're doing that currently. Being able to clearly identify specific innovations of the technology or business model is also important. And then catalytic impact. So after the investment period ends, how will the enterprise continue to scale and replicate? It's really important that you give investors that understanding in terms of how you plan on building out the rest of your company, even at the end of the investment period. And it's also a great way to encourage them to consider you for follow-on funding or introductions to other investors that can fund your next series. Quickly, 2 more points here. Being able to identify the key risks in terms of facing development, implementation, and sustainability of this concept. You'd be surprised that a lot of entities don't take the time to address or do a risk assessment. And it might be because they don't want to apply or share information that may appear as, in quotes, negative. But all this really does is show that you've done the groundwork and you've done your background work in terms of assessing your product or offering holistically, and just being upfront and honest with the investors in terms of some of the internal pain points that you and your team would have to figure out moving forward. And then lastly, to be more investable, I would suggest that you'd consider what other funding commitments could be useful for your company, whether it's in the form of a grant, whether it's in the form of debt, equity, private investors, donor partners, other sector investments within impact investing. So just doing that sort of brainstorming or thinking to give to give the investors a viewpoint in terms of what you are looking to ascertain in terms of type of funding. And then I'll close with how we are supporting women-led businesses. So the Nigerian renewable energy sector boasts of several women starting and running successful companies in the space. And several of those companies have been supported by us both financially and non-financially, with the likes of startups.ng, Sosai, Creed, Ulu. You also hear from Chiemela from Solaris, and Mrs. Damilola from Ashdam. But I'll share 2 examples of businesses that are women-led within our ecosystem that we have supported. So starting with that startups.ng Nigeria, I'm not sure if everyone on the call is familiar, but startups.ng is led by Ms. Sandra Chukwu-Dozie, and they are a provider of clean, affordable solar home energy systems with a commitment to reaching end users at the bottom of the pyramid. Salfa emerged a winner of our 2020 United States African Development Foundation All on Off-Grid Energy Challenge, where the company received $50,000 USD to pilot their pay-as-you-go contract for companies, or rather customers, in the Niger Delta. And then more recently, Salfa also received $1 million USD investment from us as additional support to deliver on strategy and facilitate the adoption of sustainable power. Then secondly, we have companies like Ulu. Ulu Solar is a leading solar distributor in West Africa. And not too long ago, they closed on a $8.5 million USD Series B investment, where we were a participating investor. It's managed by Senior Executive Doseke, and they're on a mission to provide affordable energy access to rural and peri-urban customers in West Africa. Interestingly, Ulu actually started or was founded in 2015, and to date, they've sold over 60,000 plus solar home systems. They've employed over 250 full-time employees, and they also are run by a Dakar-based management team who also has 50% of women on their management team. So this list, of course, is not exhaustive. As I mentioned, we have several businesses within our ecosystem that are women-led, women-founded, women-managed and operated. But this is just to highlight the success of entrepreneurs, women in our space who are reshaping the off-grid energy landscape in Nigeria. And it also gives a glimpse of how we at Allon are deliberate about inclusivity, not only in the composition of management and operational teams, but also in the enterprises we support and serve. So I'll drop the mic here, and I hope that I've been able to give somewhat of a bit of insight on what we are doing at Allon in terms of supporting women in the space, and what the perspective or the outlook is when we consider investing in businesses, in businesses like yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Frances. Thank you so much for, sharing more insights into what, the All on Hub does, because I saw in the registration, when we sent out registrations for this event, someone asked a question about what All On is doing as regards to women-led startup and investment. So probably during the question and answer session, if the person is still here, she could, address that question to you, and then you would provide more insights. But I believe that your own session has answered a lot of that question. Also, thank you for encouraging the women to apply, because as women, most times we're always held back by that. Do I get that mindset that, oh, would my business be selected? Would they pick me and all of that? But the first step has always been to, apply, and then you might never know what can come out of that step. So as usual, we're going to be sharing another poll so that we make sure that everybody is following and, have very key points to take home at the end of the day. So the poll has launched on your screens. Just, make your selection, let us know. The question is, where are you most likely to get funding for your business? So if you're going to start a business, what would be the first place you would look out for funding? Yeah. The results are very interesting. Okay, I think I would publish the results now. So 67% of the response says that they are going to get funding from their personal finances. But the truth is that in this space, in the sustainable industry, trust me, there are a lot of opportunities. You just need to be plugged into the right environment. Just like Frances said, sign up to newsletters, follow those organizations that are likely to give you funding for your business. And beyond that, also make sure that you position your business properly. Make sure that your products and service, they are good. They actually deliver the results that you claim that they would be delivering. Thank you so much, Frances, for your session. I hope you are still on the call till the end, so that if any of the participants have questions, they would ask you. So going forward, I would like to welcome Adejoke Lasisi for her session. Adejoke is an African fabric designer, and she's also the creative director of Planet 3R. Adejoke, if you're on the call, you can unmute yourself and have the floor. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you so much, NCIC, for this opportunity, and I've learned a lot from the other speakers. Thank you very much. Now I know more on what to do. So I'm so excited about this topic because, many people get it wrong when it comes to green businesses, and they feel like green businesses has to do with only recycling, which I always say that no, it is not true, because doing business, making sure that your business is in line with green economy or in a green way, is making sure that your production line or your business does not generate environmental problem, does not generate maybe the way you do your business, you are causing pollution, the process and everything like that. Those kind of businesses cannot be called green businesses. Maybe when you plant your farm, your seed and everything, you put all these chemicals, you put all these stuff to make sure that it grows very well. Those kind of harvest that comes out, those kind of things that comes out from that farm, you can no longer call them green business. You know, maybe you make some creams and you put some chemicals there and they are ash and they are not even good for the environment, let alone our health. Then those kind of businesses cannot be considered as green businesses. So to my own definition, according to Adejoke Lasisi, I would say that, you know, a green business, it's something very, I would just say that it's simple. It's a business that makes sure that it's supporting the green economy. It is a business that will not cause any other environmental hazard. Like what we are doing at Planet 3R. So we make sure that when we convert these pure water sachets and clothes into other products, you know, we make sure that the process of converting these products does not cause any other environmental hazard. And this is one thing that we always need to look at when we are thinking about an idea, about coming up with a business or something. We should think about the environment, how we are going to do it. So when we talk about opportunities in green business, there are a lot of opportunities, but I'm just going to just point out a few of the opportunities that we can get, especially for women. So when we look at the recycling company, like you know, people can now recycle plastics, PET bottles, plastic bags, clothes, glass, different things that people now recycle. But in as much as we are trying to recycle that, most of the time you cannot, because this chain is it's a long chain. So you don't have to do everything. You might just go as picking. You might say, okay, you want to be picking these waste. You might say, okay, I want to be collecting these waste and be selling it to people that are using them. Okay, you might say, okay, I just want to make sure that I process these wastes into the finished good. So depending on the interest, depending on your own creativity, depending on that skill that you already have, that you want to use to solve the problem that you see in the environment. Like what motivated me to start Planet 3R was the fact that in the community where I used to stay then, you know, anytime during rainy season, there's a bridge along our street. And whenever it rains like that, we don't have opportunity to like go inside, not even trekking. Like we have to park our cars outside to trek inside. And at the end of the day, when the water flows away from that place, you now realize there's a lot of plastic bottles, a lot of just nylons around and everything. And I now said, okay, this is what is causing this water that is not making the water go freely. It's because of these wastes that we generate around in this community. And I look at the community, I realize that many women are just sit at home, they just stay at home, they don't really have much they're doing. And at the same time, majority of the homes in that community, they cannot afford to pay waste management company to come and pack any waste. The one thing that they are looking forward to get is just like to get food at that time. And honestly, there's something in my language, that means that you cannot be hungry and you'll be thinking about being productive or thinking about another thing. So I look at it, okay, how can I solve this problem with the skill that I already have, which is weaving ashoke? They already acquired from my mom. So I started using the weaving skills that I acquired from my mom, making sure that those wastes that I see in that community, converting them into products and creating opportunity for the women in that community. So one thing that I've realized about waste management, which is number one that I'm talking about, is that if it's well managed, if waste is well managed, it's going to unlock a lot of opportunities. Because initially, my own aim was just to like reduce those wastes, to make sure that, okay, those wastes don't end up. Because one thing that I've realized that we can't really stop plastic. However, we can stop polluting it. We can make sure that they don't end up on the landfill. We make good use of them into something creative. So now, the intention, the primary aim for starting that was just to reduce the plastic. Now, we've been able to employ people, we've been able to empower, we've been able to like sensitize a lot of people in secondary school and community. So that is number one about opportunity in green business, like number one. Then number two that I would talk about for women, I will talk about organic products. What do I mean by organic products? As you can see now, a lot of people are really, really into organic products. People don't want to use all these products like soap, creams, and stuff like that that are harsh on the body or having maybe negative impact on our health or environment. So people are so like, even the packaging, what people are using to package their products now. So making sure that, okay, no, we are no longer using this kind of thing that will not be biodegradable and stuff like that. So when you put all this into consideration, I'm telling you, by the time such products, and if it's a good product again, by the time it enter markets and they say, okay, you are really supporting green economy, it's going to attract investors to you. It's really, really going to attract investors. And investors too want to like invest in it because they know that it's going to benefit them. Like when they have a lot of people that are buying into it. For instance, now when we look at the plastic issues now, especially the bottles and the plastic bags, it is a global issue. It is not just it is not just a Nigeria thing. It is not just Africa thing. It is a global one that everybody is trying to like, okay, how do we get rid of these things? How do we control it? So you can look at all these company, these bottling companies, the way they are now looking for recycling companies, especially the people that are recycling plastic bottles that, you know, that they want to work with so that they will help them control, reduce that environmental problem that they are causing through their products, especially through the plastics bottle that they use, the container that they use to pack them. So those kind of people, they get opportunities to work with big organizations. And I'm telling you, like, investors want to like work with such organizations because they know that, okay, there is they are going to benefit from this if they put their money into it, because they see it as a lucrative idea and okay, that people really want this. So these are the kind of businesses that I always like encourage women to go for. Let's take a look at another one, especially let's say cleaning business. Like you instead of you to be using all these maybe chemical soap to clean the house, you want to fumigate the house, you make sure that all the things that you are using, they're organic. You made them organically, not all this chemical, and you're able to prove it. You show the certificate that okay, this is safe for your house, this is it. You know, these are the things that people want to really see. Like they want to see that okay, this solution they are creating. And one thing is that when you create solution that supports green economy, that supports, that is when you create a green business, you know, this thing is not just about you now, because you need to look at the fact that that business you are starting, that business you are doing, although some people might look at sustainable business as something that is not profitable, especially some investors, they'll be like, why do we have to go through all this process when we can just create new things and stuff like that? But when you make them see that, okay, this is profitable at the same time, the impact, and you know that we need to make sure that those 3 P's are very important when we are doing business, especially when you want to, we have number 1, that is people. You need to consider people when you are doing your business. That you need to consider that, okay, people are there, things that they are learning. Then the second one, which is very important too, that is the planet. You need to consider our environment, you need to consider the planet. Then the third one, of course, if it's not making money, it's not making sense. That is the profit, because that is how you are going to sustain that business. If you don't have money to keep going and, you know, doing it, then the idea might just die like that or just go off. So let us make sure that whatever we do, even any business that you are doing right now, go and sit down and just look at the way that, okay, how can I make sure that I support the green economy? My business is a green business. Like, this is one of the unique selling points for you. It will really make sense even to get those funding. So make sure that you really do that. You know, that local solution that you are creating is solving that global problem. And that is one thing that you should make sure that you have at the back of your mind. Make sure that you're able to find a way to relate that your solution to one of the sustainable development goals. It works very well, because these issues that were stated, like the goals, those sustainable development goals, they are something. It's not just something that is affecting you in your community. It is not something that is affecting only you, your country, or your continent. It is something that is affecting everyone globally, and your own local solution is solving it. So make sure that you find a way. And like keep saying it, see, when you say that, okay, oh, you wanted to work with just Go 13, or that's climate action, or before you know it, your solution is already helping the education, is helping women empowerment, is creating decent jobs. These things, when you look at the sustainable development goals, they actually work, they are interconnected and everything. And when your business is green and you can actually prove it, I keep saying it's going to attract partners to you. A lot of them is going to attract them to you. So these are things that we should be looking at. If you already have existing business, go and look at it and see that, okay, how can you make sure that your business supports green economy? It is very important. And if you do not have one already, when you are thinking about new idea and something that you can do, think about how that idea can actually promote green economy. So this is something that we should make sure that we have at the back of our mind. And I'm telling you, there's a lot we can do as a woman. Do not let anybody say that, okay, you cannot get this opportunity, you cannot get that. I've won a lot of grants for my business, maybe because of the kind of idea that we have, or because we're able to like make sure that, okay, show them that, okay, this is the solution and is supporting the green economy. Because when you look at most of the call for applications today for grants and stuff like that, you know, most of them even has that. They want to know how your business is supporting green economy. So if you can make sure that, okay, you have a point, you have a way that your business is going to support green economy, or you are going to support green economy, then please make sure that you go towards that. And all those ideas are just something that you can look around and see that this your idea is not going to be polluting the environment. It's not going to be affecting people's health. It's not going to be affecting the health of your workers. These are the things that you need to consider. These are the things that you need to work out first before you start that business, or even if you've started it. When you are now doing it, like all these existing brands, especially bottling brands, you know, they look for organizations, like I said, that are working with recycling bottles, so that they would take that problem that they are causing in the community across the globe, so that those people will solve it for them. So they are working hand in hand with them, and that is how it goes. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any question, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Adejoke. So the questions will come at the end of the session. I just hope we can wrap this up in time before it's 1 p.m. because that was a scheduled time to end this session. Yes, and also thank you for the encouragement and for also listing some areas that business owners can, you know, look into in order to refine their processes and incorporate sustainability practices. And like you said, investors are actually looking out for the sustainable components of you know, every business, because we are all the race to a cleaner and greener economy. Everyone is involved, and people would really want to, you know, get alternatives to some of the unsustainable products that we see every day. So without wasting much of our time, we'll go to the next polls so that you know that everybody is following you know, on this. Okay, so if you can see the poll, I would be looking forward to your response. So which of these sectors within the green economy do you think is most promising for a female entrepreneur? Okay, I'll just give a few more time for people to. Okay, I think we can see the results now. We have a greater response saying that secular fashion, which is Adejoke's niche, they say that if you go into secular fashion, you are most likely to succeed as a woman. But Adejoke would agree with me that as a woman, you can succeed in any sector of the green economy. Just make sure that your business process is aligned to the sustainable development goals, and you can convince investors that yes, the product that I have is really good and is very much marketable. Thank you, Adejoke, and we hope that you stay to the end of the session so that you can answer some questions, because I know a lot of people would really want to ask you questions. Would have Chimila come up for her own session. Chimila is the founder of Solaris Tech Hub, a renewable energy company based in Nigeria or Southeast Nigeria. And yes, she is one of the investees that is in the NCIC's network and also on. Chimila, you can unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, everyone. Please, Aduko, confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Good afternoon.
Oh, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone.
We can hear you. Yes. Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you so much. So I want to say a very big thank you to the NCIC team and Green Business for the invitation. I'm honored. And thank you, everyone who made it to this call. So quickly, I'm going to share how to overcome gender inequality as a female founder. I think this is one topic that I'm so peculiar, I'm so particular about. Is one that has affected me, and I think I'm in a better position to actually talk about this because and how it has affected me as well. Okay, so of course we understand what inequalities are. The law of inequalities, of course, a situation where people are not treated equally. It could be based on gender, it could be based on status, it could be based on color, race, and the rest. But today we're going to be looking at specifically at gender inequality, a situation where people are not treated equally based on gender, and how to overcome this as a female founder. So I'm going to start out by sharing my story about how I started out. So I'm the founder of Solaris Green Tech Hub. Solaris, of course, is a renewable energy startup in the southeastern part of Nigeria. We are focused on distributing micro solar solutions to rural and peri-urban communities that are disconnected from the national grid. But the truth of the matter is Solaris wasn't the first business or the first startup that I started out. So this is where the gist is. So funny enough, I don't have a background in engineering. I studied public administration, so I have a background in social sciences. So when I started out my first startup, I joined a company, an engineering firm here in Abia State, called Clintonel Innovation Center. So Clintonel is an engineering firm. So when I joined, when I started working with the organization, I was the only female in the organization. So I'm not going to talk about all of the things I faced as the only female in an entire company, an engineering company. We had mechanical engineers and all sorts of engineers. So I joined as a trainee. I did a training. They had series of training. So I was trained in computer-aided design and computer-aided manufacturing. So we were introduced to engineering softwares like Fusion 360, Autodesk Inventor, and the rest of them. So we are taught on how to see solutions in different problems. Of course, we have a lot of problems in different sectors, in the power sector, in the education sector, in different many sectors. So we are taught on how to identify these problems and create solutions for this problem. And going through that program changed my perspective, changed my idea, the way I see things and the way I perceive things, of course. So interacting with those engineers, of course, I see engineers as gods because, of course, they create a lot of things. Think of the roads, the electricity, and all of that. So being in the midst of engineers, I started thinking of how do we solve some of these problems. So the one that came at the top of my mind was the energy problem, because I was personally affected by electricity and all of that. But I stayed in a region where if you see NEPA lights, it's as though you're something unique and special happened. So I was so particular about it. So I started thinking, how do we solve this problem? And then for most persons who live beyond $1 USD a day, they have our energy problem is quite basic. Most of them just need energy to charge their mobile devices. So we started out with how do we solve this problem? So I had a pool of engineers who I could work with. So we started this ideation process. I rallied the engineers. Okay, fine. This is what I think we should do, and this is how we should do it. Okay, fine. You are the CAD expert. You can do the design. Can you design this product? Let's see. Let's go through this process. Let's see if it works. I had electrical and electronics engineer on my team. I had a mechanical engineer on my team. I had sound engineers on my team. So that was how we started out. So one of the early mistakes I made was that we started out on a gentleman's agreement. So nothing formal, it was just a gentleman's agreement. That's one of the things I'm going to point out today to avoid. That's one of the things you need to avoid if you want to overcome inequality as a female founder. Avoid having any conversation, avoid entering into any contract with any person on a gentleman term. So when I mean gentleman agreement, nothing formal, nothing signed. It's just let's do this. At the end of the day, if anything comes out of it, fine. So that was how I started out. I invested a lot of resources, money, time, and all of that. So of course, if you're a founder, actually have a product, you understand that prototyping takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of time. So your first prototype may not even work. The second, the third may not even work. You keep on testing and until you come up with something that works. So that was the case for me. So I spent a lot of money and all of that. So I was still working with these engineers. And then, so I got to a point, we had something reasonable and we could show to people. We started raising, we raised a little money. And then we thought of, why don't we put a structure around this? Why don't we make this formal? So that was the point where I received the greatest shock of my life. So when we got to that conversation, that's formal conversation, that's putting structure to the business. So of course, we started with the equity splitting, the roles, the responsibility, who does this, who does that, who gets this and who gets that. So the equity was shared. So I happened to get the lower percentage of the equity. And I questioned because, of course, I've invested a lot into this. And of course, I said, I came to you guys, I said, let's do this, let's start this out. So why do I have to get the lower percent? And I think the roles and responsibility that was assigned to me then was office management, correspondence, do this, do that, and all of that. I was like, why do I get the menial roles? Like, why don't I get to be on the board, on the management team and all of that? So that was when I received the greatest shock of my life. So this were their reasons. So first they said, you get this level of percent of equity because of course you are a woman. So this is one thing that is very predominant in the southeastern part of Nigeria. So if you're in a gathering and there are older women and there's just a little boy, so they accord much respect to the little boy. That they accord to the older women just because he's male. So they said, so that was their first reason. So I was like, what's the correlation? Like, what's the justification? Why do I get to get this percentage just because I'm a woman? So I was calculating my sweat, I was already calculating my sweat equity, my investment, and all of that. They said, of course, you are a woman, so there's no way you would get a greater percentage of the equity, and then with the males are getting lesser percentage than you. And then, of course, this is your roles and responsibility because there's no way you should be leading or there's no way you should be taking the decisions and then we'll be following. It shouldn't be done. Then the next reason is that, of course, you're going to get married and you have, okay, then I just finished with the university. They said I was going to go for a compulsory 1 year service and I'm going to be away for 1 year. So for that period of 1 year, they'll be the one managing the business. So I should get the lesser equity. Then of course I was going to get married. So the period of, so the reasons were flimsy and it came to me as a shock. It was surprising and it was funny at the same time. So I didn't let it slide. We had back and forth, we had issues and all of that. So we involved a lot of external parties. It was confusing, like it was really confusing. Now, at the end of the day, we said, okay, fine, let's just do this. But that first business didn't work out. The team scattered, money was wasted and all of that. But I didn't stop at that. I said, fine, I wanted to do this for myself. I wanted to do this for the people around me. I wanted to do this because I wanted to help people. This was a problem I wanted to solve. So I shouldn't stop because of just what happened. So I picked up the little pieces. I started pulling some little files together, designed the first prototype, deployed it, it worked, and wow, that was how Solaris was vetted, and that is how we are where we are now. So, and I know this is my story. This was how I started. I know that a lot of female founders might have faced something similar, or even worse. So there are a lot of misconceptions, a lot of bias when it comes to female founders. So for them, it was, I was going to get married, I was going to have children, I was going to do this, I was going to do that. So to them, I wouldn't have the time, but I don't have what it takes to run the business. So they just relegate me to the background where they do the actual work. In fact, recently we went to get a property for our business. And of course, I went with some members of my team and the agent. So we had the conversations and all of that. So I think the property owner, so all through the period where I was there, it was as though I wasn't in the conversation. It was as though I wasn't in the picture. So it was when it got to a point where payments need to be made. Payment had to be made. So the members of my team were like, meet our madam. So that was the point where those men, those were the point where the property owner realized that there was somebody here with us. So it's funny how these things happen, but these are every time the things we face every day in business, in our society and all of that. Now, there are a lot of misconception when it has to do with a female founder. They think, you can't do this. Now, the first one is just like what I experienced. The feel you have a second place, like it's an unwritten norm. So for the guys, they said there's no way I could be leading them while I relegated to the background. So they just gave me the menial roles. I should just be doing this because I'll have a lot of distraction. I'll have a lot of this. So is a bias, of course, a misconception. They just feel you are second to the male. So they just think, you have this, you have that, and all of that. Now, another misconception when it comes to female founder, when it comes to businesses, is I don't know how these things we arrived at most of this, but I've seen it play out. So like the example I stated that when we went for the property, they just feel that women are bad at negotiating. So they allow the men do the talking, they allow them do the so it's funny, and I was just there. So it was towards the end of the conversation when payment had to be made, and I'm like, no, I'm not comfortable with this decision, and I'm not comfortable with the property. Of course, I was going to do the payment. So if I'm not comfortable with it, I'm not going to make the payment. So they would have let me in the negotiating process, of course, so that I could, of course, air my view and say, this is what I want, and this is, but you just feel that you're not so good at negotiation. So this is another bias, another misconception about female founders. They just feel you're not good at negotiation. They just feel you're not good with numbers. You're not good at math. Of course, we have history where young girls shy away from STEM-related courses because they just feel not so good with maths, not so good with physics and chemistry, just for the males. So these are most of the misconceptions around female founders. Now, again, from my experience, they also feel that we don't have what it takes to be entrepreneurs. Of course, entrepreneurship is something that is quite difficult. It's something that it's not a walk in the park. It's something that is taxing. So they just feel that women don't have what it takes to be entrepreneurs. Now, I'm a new mom. I gave birth about 5 weeks ago, and so I was having a discussion with my team. They were asking me to go on a leave. You just gave birth, so you need time to rest. I was telling them if I was doing a 9 to 5, it would have been much easier. I would have taken a 3-month leave or even a 6-month leave. But I'm running a startup, I'm running a company, and we need to get things done. We need to get plans in motion. I need to respond to mails. I need to submit proposals. And for most investors, you are the contact person. They always reach out to you. So I can't just take a break. In fact, I think prior to birthing my child, I think I was still at the hospital when I was responding. That was the last mail I responded to before giving birth. So I was responding to it. It was urgent, and I needed to respond to it. I don't need to tell these stakeholders that I'm at the hospital, or this one happened, or that one happened. So of course, being an entrepreneur is something that is taxing, is challenging, is difficult. I betted my child on a Tuesday, 31st of January. I attended the meeting on Friday. So is that serious? So when they look at some of these things, they think, women, no, you don't have that temerity, you don't have the strength, you don't have the willpower, you don't have what it takes to absorb all of these things. You need to do this one, you need to do that one, and all of that. So they feel we don't have what it takes to become entrepreneurs. Of course, they feel, just like in my situation of, again, they feel you have kids, you have a family to attend to, so you be distracted, you be this. I think one of the speakers mentioned, we've seen situations where even investors don't want to give money to female-led businesses because of a lot of these misconceptions, a lot of this bias against women founders. They feel you'll be distracted, which of course, most times we are often distracted with family, with kids, but a lot of women are finding their ways around this. So you find a situation where we ask the men to win, we encourage them to win, win, and then we tell the women not to lose because we just think they need to try. Of course, there's every tendency that they might lose out, they might not win, so we tell them not to lose, we encourage them not to lose, we encourage them to be strong, to be this and all of that. So these are most of the misconceptions and most of the bias against female founders. Now let's quickly look at how do we overcome some of this bias? How do we overcome some of these misconceptions? How do we overcome some of these inequalities that female founders face? And of course, from my own experience, one of the things I did that helped me was I believed so much in myself. Now, if the moment you start to believe in what they say, the moment you start to believe these misconceptions, the moment so assuming that I accepted the role, I accepted the decision the guys made, the engineers made, and I just say, okay, fine. Let me just attend to. Let me just do the secretarial work. Let me just do the menial works and not push myself to the front. Let me not put myself out there. Of course, I'm a woman. I have a lot of things to think about and all of that. I wouldn't have given birth to Solaris. I wouldn't have given birth to the company that we are currently managing. That would have been the case, but I refused to believe. In fact, I was tagged stubborn. I was tagged arrogant. They tagged me a lot of things because I refused to accept their decision. We had a lot of back and forth. We involved a lot of external parties and all of that. So I refused to believe what they said. And I believed so much in myself. I believed that I could do this. I believe that if there are other women out there that are doing it, that are running multi-million companies, I myself actually can also do it. So I think the first thing to do is to disagree with this misconception, disagree with them, and believe so much in yourself. So that's the first step to overcoming these challenges. Now, the second step to overcoming some of these challenges is to seek for help. Of course, like I said, entrepreneurship is not a walk in the park. It's not easy. It's not something that will come off so easy for you. It's not like doing a 9 to 5 where you report to work in the morning at 9 o'clock, you do your daily tasks, and then 5 p.m. you are off the office, you go home and rest. No. Entrepreneurship is something you do 24/7. Like you're thinking of how to take your business to the next level. You're thinking of the best way to put this proposal to get the attention of this investor. You're thinking of how do we present. You're thinking of how do we do the marketing. How do we sort this marketing part? You're thinking of how do we work out talent retention, talent acquisition. You're thinking of a lot of things. You're thinking of how to put all of these things in place. So it's not something that comes out easy. So seek for help. As much help as possible. So one of the things I tell female founder is unlearn a lot of things that you've learned, a lot of doctrines, ideologies. We have this belief that women are meant to be strong. You do this, you multitask, you manage, you micromanage, you're this, you're there, and all of that. So unlearn a lot of this, seek for help. It could be help in form of collaboration. Now, this was one of the things I did earlier on when I started Solaris. So the first prototype that we designed wasn't so fine. For the first one failed, the second one wasn't working so fine. So I reached out to an organization in Enugu, Hardware Garage. There is an acceleration company. It's also an engineering company. So I presented to them what I had. This is what I had. And they said, okay, fine, we can actually help you to get something better. So our first design was a power box that could generate electricity. So something that you can deploy to communities without access to electricity, and they could charge their mobile devices, charge their micro power devices. So they said, okay, fine, we get you something quite very good. So we had that partnership, we had that collaboration. We made it formal. This is the percentage, the equity percentage you get from this company for doing this for us. So this is what you do for, this is what you get in return. So we had it on white and black on paper. So seek for help. It could be in form of collaboration, it could be in form of partnership, it could be in form of network. Like seek for help in your home. If you need to outsource some of your home chores, of course, I do that a lot. If you need to get a nanny to help with the kids, if you need to seek for help, get people to help you, get others to do some of the things. Don't be so shy to ask for help. Don't think, oh, I can do it all by myself. Accept, if someone offers to help you, accept the help, even if it is something as small as, okay, let me help you with this proposal, let me help you respond to this mail. So this is one of the things you could do to overcome most of these challenges. Of course, I've mentioned seek for help in form of collaboration, in form of partnership with others. Now, again, is to join networks of like-minded people, of female founders, if possible. These are one of the things that have helped me move from one level to the level where I am now. Last year, I attended the WIMBIS program. I got to meet women in management, women in businesses, women in politics, women that are doing beautifully well in their different career paths. And one of the things that happens when you attend some of these things, that you get to meet these women. And if you have any feeling of self-doubt, can I actually do this? And you see someone else who is doing exactly the same thing that you want to do, it gives you some form of encouragement, and you feel like, okay, fine, if she can actually do this, I myself, I can also do it. In fact, one of the women shared at WIMBIS last year, she said she had about 4 children or 5 children, and she's the major breadwinner of the family, and the husband works from home, so he helps to take care of the children. Now, she shared a lot of things about her work. In fact, this was an agreement. She said, okay, fine, since I earn more money, let me do the work here. Since your work can allow you to do this from home, do it from the house and help to take care of the children. She got nannies, she got help around there. So when you attend event like this, when you join network of women like this, and you see women that are actually doing the same thing that you want to do, that even achieved the same thing that you want to achieve, it gives you some form of encouragement. It helps to break down most of those bias and misconceptions in your head, and you go like, oh, if she can do it, I myself can actually do most of the stuff. And again, just like I mentioned initially, in any form of agreement you want to enter in your networking processes, in your collaborations and all of that, avoid any form of gentleman's agreement. That was one of the initial things I did that led to, that broke down my first business. It was, I thought I could, okay, fine, I was the only female, let's get this running, let's do this. And the comeback wasn't funny for me. So avoid entering into any form of gentleman's agreement, something that is not formal, that is not structured, that is not written on black and white. And then again, one of the things you could do to overcome some of this is to raise awareness, put yourself out there. Now, if you follow Solar with our page, and you see one of the things I'm so particular, one of the things I do is that I share our business progress. I share most of the things we do, and I tag most of these organizations. I tag NCIC, I tag Olon, I tag USADF, I tag I tag most of these organizations, because of course, just like the other speaker mentioned, most of these organizations want to help you. They want to help female founders. They want to give you money. They want to give you access to training. They want to give you access to both technical, managerial trainings. They want to help you. So put yourself out there. Don't get hidden. Don't be a lone warrior. Don't just do it on the background. Put yourself out there. It could be through your social media platforms, your business pages. Put out what you're doing and get the help that you want. Now, another thing that could also help us to overcome this is to form mentoring relationship. This is another thing that has helped me a lot. In fact, I saw a comment from a mentor, on Westower Foundation post that mentioned about our trip to Berlin. She said, I know Chemela, I've worked with her. And then I've forgotten the exact word she used. That's from Mrs. Yemisi Isidi. She was my mentor. In fact, it was a 2-time structured program, mentorship program that she was a part of. I was a mentee, she was a mentor, and I really benefited from it. So seek out, form mentoring relationship. Now, this is how I do it. This is what I do. I don't just go to people and I tell them, I want you to be my mentor. I just walk up to Mrs. Damilola. I said, I love what you're doing. I love the impact you're making at IWD. I want you to be my mentor. No, it doesn't work that way. When you come up to me and say something, I'll just forget it at that point. It doesn't work that way. Let it be a structured program. Everyone is busy. Like if you're an entrepreneur, if you do your 9 to 5, everyone is busy. Mrs. Damilola is busy. I'm busy. So you don't just walk up to somebody and say, I want you to be my mentor. If the person is working on the same career path that you admire or something that you want to do, you could tell the person, of course, have this conversation with this person, tell the person, I love what you do, this is what I want to do, and I want you to help me. Please, can we have a structured, even if it is a 5 minutes call once in a week for the next 2 weeks or for the next 2 months? Let it be structured. Tell the person, I just need, we could have a 10 minutes talk. Just go straight to the point. This is where I need help. Can you tell me about your career path? Can you tell me how you've been able to make it from this point? Can you tell me your story with me? Can you tell me how you've moved from this point to this point? It could be once in every week. It could be, you could run it a 10-minute session or 15-minute session for the next 2 weeks. Make it structured. Maybe a structured mentoring relationship. Mentorship has helped me a lot. Of course, one of the things one of most mentors that I've interacted with did for me is they gave me access to their network, they shared their wealth of experience. So what it took the person 10 years to learn or 15 years to learn, they just summarize it in 1 or 2 meetings and they just hand it over to you. That's one of the things that it has helped me do. So of course, with most of these things, with most of these things that I've shared, you could actually overcome these inequalities in our workplaces, even as a female founder. So when you believe so much in yourself, when you can take up this decision, when you can take risks, calculated risks, make decisions for yourself, if you'll be at the front of not just overcoming this, you'll be the one putting an end to it. So in my organization, I have not just overcome gender inequality from my first experience, of course. I know these things are real until we attain a perfect society. I know these things are real, especially in the southeastern part of Nigeria. They are so predominant on this part of Nigeria. So I know these things are real firsthand. So I have created an environment in our organization that accommodates other female young persons that we work with. So do these things, of course. Believe so much in yourself. Network with as much female founders as possible. Get enough encouragement. Be with people that have like mind with you, of course. Unlearn a lot of things that you've learned. Learn to seek help. Get as much help in form of collaborations, partnership. They are very important if you want to grow as a female founder. It's better off. So when we secured a partnership with Hardware Garage, I was so willing to give up a part of the company ownership to them in exchange for something, because I believe so much that it's better, of course, to have, even if it's 1% in a multi-million business, than to own the 100% in a business that the valuation is not up to 200,000 or even 500,000. So I was willing to let go. So of course, we have a lot of fears. We have a lot of, what if this person comes in and take away my business? No, if you put all of these things on paper, on white and black, you have it well structured, nobody will come in and take your business. So I was willing to give out a part of the company ownership in exchange for help, in exchange for what they could offer. And I tell you the truth, I don't regret that partnership. So I've collaborated with a lot of international organizations, so many of them, and I don't regret any of the partnerships to date. So I believe if you're able to do some of these things, you're able to overcome some of this gender inequality, all of these inequalities that exist in the workplace, in the world of entrepreneurship, and in the world as in general. Thank you so much. So I'll be here to the end of the session in case there are any questions.
Thank you, Chemila. Thank you so much. Reading through the comments, it was really beautiful seeing a lot of founders also reiterate the fact that they can relate to your story. They can relate to the fact that they have faced gender inequality as an entrepreneur, and beyond entrepreneurship, even in the workplace and all of in other sectors of the society, it is very common to see women face certain kind of biases, mostly because this is what the society has ingrained into our minds. So sometimes the men, they do this not because they hate us or something, but it's just, they've built up those biases over time. And also thank you for, sharing some useful tips that would help each and every one of us on this call today overcome these biases, one of which is believe in yourself. Just believe in yourself and know that you can do that, and always seek help where you can. The NCIC has over time supported female entrepreneurs. We connect them to mentors, and just to make sure that their businesses become viable at the end of the day. So as usual, we're going to have a short poll to make sure that everyone is still following, everyone is still on the call, like from my end, and it's really nice that we are all, looking towards the end of this together. So in a few minutes, I would have this up. So I hope everyone can see the poll. So just tap your response. And women entrepreneurs cannot excel in the green economy sector. Okay, I would end that and share the results. So everyone disagrees to that statement. So as a woman, even beyond the green economy sector, beyond sustainability, anywhere you find yourself in, you can always excel. And, as long as you put in the work, as long as you, make sure that you seek help and you connect with people. Don't, like Chemila said, don't be a lone warrior. Always seek for help. And the truth is, people are willing to help you. Without further ado, our next and last speaker for today, Damilola. Thank you so much for joining us today. Damilola is the founder of Ashdam Solar, and she'll be talking to us on women and access to energy. Dami, you can unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you, NCIC, for creating this program where a lot of knowledgeable women and entrepreneurs, trailblazers, and Amazons are speaking today. And I've been able to learn a lot from all the panelists. Chemela, Ella, nice to meet you again. And how is the baby doing? And yes, Francis from All On. I can actually see a lot of people on the participant list. David, I can see you. Hello, everyone. So today I'm happy to be speaking about a topic, two things I like so much: women and access to energy. So I'm Damilola Ashaleye, and I am a co-founder of Ashdam Solar Company Limited. I am also the vice president of the Renewable Energy Association of Nigeria, and I also wear another hat of the founder of Girls and Women Technological Empowerment Organization. So I'm to talk on women and access to energy, but then I want us to understand what energy means first, or why do we even need energy? And why we need energy is because there's one thing that is called energy poverty. And what is energy poverty? Energy poverty is lack of access to modern energy services. It refers to the situation of large numbers of people in a particular area, maybe in a country or community, whose well-being is negatively affected by low consumption of energy, use of dirty or polluting fuels such as generators, which actually contributes to greenhouse gases and also causes climate change, and also excessive time spent for collecting fuel to meet the basic needs. Now, today, about 750 million globally are without access to energy. And in Nigeria, about 90 million people are actually energy. So now, what do we even term as this access to energy? With SDG goals, SDG 7, which is access to clean and affordable energy, it actually means having access to about only 4 hours of access to energy that can provide us basic things like lightings and all our phones. So imagine that 750 million people do not have access to charge their phones or have access to just 4 hours of light, bringing it down to Nigeria that most of us are 90 million people, which is about maybe 55, nearly 60% of the Nigerian population do not have access to energy. So, and people that do not have access to energy, women are the most affected persons, the most affected genders. And why is that? Because women are the energy managers in the society. Come to our immediate society, which I'll say our homes. It is the woman that actually takes care of the children morning, in most cases, in most homes, takes care of the kids in the evening, takes care of the family, cook. It is the woman that is also trying to manage the bills of energy in the house. So because women are actually more affected by lack of or energy poverty. So I want to read a statistics here. Lack of access to modern energy is responsible for million premature deaths every year and has a strong impact on women's health, as they are commonly responsible for ensuring daily energy supply of cooking and eating, such as kerosene lanterns, trees, and generators. Women are the ones that are actually more responsible for these daily energy needs, be it in the rural community or in the urban or peri-urban locations. Yes, in the urban areas, but we still see that a lot of women are the ones responsible for everything energy related in the house. And let us take it to the rural locations where the women are actually using 3 stone stoves to cook. The content of carbon, which affects their health, it affects their lungs, it causes different kind of breathing diseases, lung diseases for these women, even eyes diseases also for them. So women are actually forefront of energy poverty affecting them. So now I would like to share some experiences, or I want to share some stories of women that actually their life has by access to energy. And here I list out some of the people that we've actually provided services for in my organization that access to energy has actually improved their lifestyle. Examples are women grid. We have a mini grid in a rural community where we have women there that have several businesses. These women, because of the access to energy that they have now, they can actually work in the evening. Most of them are into smoking of fish because this is a riverine area. So access to energy, now they can smoke their fishes in the evening. That was one of the major testimony that they gave us, because that means they can be at home in the evening while taking care of their children, also have access to electricity to work. At this particular place, we also provided them with improved smoking arenas, which reduce the carbon content of, and also reduce the amount of firewood that they need. Now, when we talk about energy, it's not only electricity, even is energy. So when we use firewood to cook, it is also energy. So these women, they have reduced of spending on their firewood And with that, they have more money to invest in other things in their lifestyle. And to energy, most women that take care of their children in the mornings or in the evenings, they are able to do this better because we need energy in the morning to take care of the kids. I'm just imagining my kids in the morning without electricity. We scattered, we can't do without energy. That is just a fact. No matter the kind of energy we are using, either generator or renewable energy, we can't do without energy. But now all those other types of energy are not clean and sustainable. I've already highlighted some of the things that affects women if they're exposed to carbon content. Now, having access to clean and renewable energy makes life better for these women. Another example have actually improved, or success stories of business of women that have access to energy are provided access to energy for. Because of the access to energy, now they have reliable electricity. Then they also have reduced costs, and then they are also able to deliver to their clients as at when due because they have access to reliable source of energy. Another one, there are several success stories of women's access to energy has improved their lifestyle. But another one is another organization, another business that we provided access to energy for, which this organization, because they have access to reliable electricity, they are able to have a better structure. They're able to work with computers in their garden. Their garden became like a very, very modernized garden because people can come in the evening and then they have different decorations that are powered by electricity. And then their staff can also work on computers, do invoices digitally. So these are examples. Another example, there are several examples, but let me just mention the last one for now. Another example, a particular pharmacy that we actually also, and which is also a woman-led pharmacy. Women actually did amazing things. Several entrepreneurs out there that are women. So a particular pharmacy provided access to energy for. This particular pharmacy, we're able to provide it to them on installment base. And with this, they're able to have, number one, they're able to provide good services to the community, clinical services, because it was a pharmacy. And then they're also able to pay on installments and increase their productivity in their business. So these are some of the examples of success stories of women because they have access to energy. Now, what are going to be the impacts on these businesses or on this women lifestyle if they don't have access to energy? The kind of impacts will be, yes, if you don't have access in your home for you to take care of your children in the mornings or in the evenings, the headache you're going to be having as a woman is there. You're not going to be properly comforted because everywhere is just scattered. I'm just imagining my kids again. Everywhere is scattered, everywhere shouting, "Mommy, I need light." So in the home front, that aspect is there. You need access to reliable electricity. And also the danger that if you are using, let's say you are using kerosene lantern, the danger that portrays, there could be burning. A child can actually tip a candle light and that can make your home to catch fire. So these are things that could happen if women do not have access to energy. And now let's think about all these businesses. No business can do without electricity. That is constant. And when it is a woman-led business, without electricity or reliable access to energy, then there is going to be a lot of challenges in putting in different kind of structures, different kind of productivity levels, even in the workforce. There's going to be different challenges in that organization. So this leads to the success story, which I actually spoke about before. Now, what are the benefits of having gender equity in the energy sector? There is a study that I read about that said that it was on investment on utility organizations, which are energy organizations. So in that study, it said that a return on investment analysis of 200 utilities found that the top 20 gender diverse utilities significantly outperformed the bottom 20 in terms of return on equity, with about 1.07 difference between the two groups. So what this is saying is that this analysis was done for 200 organizations, utility companies, which are energy organizations, and they realized that the top 20 performance in this study, in form of return on equity of this organization, the top 20 performers actually have women, have gender diversity in them. And this is very, very important, because if we don't have gender diversity, because we women actually bring a lot of source, we bring a lot of ideas. My colleague said that she has heard about different things about women. Yes, all these things that women do, it brings us, it makes us to have the energy to bring different things to the table. We bring all our managerial skills, all our time management skills, all those things, we bring them to the table. And when we bring them to the table, we bring them in well, because at the end of the day, we are trying to actually prove to people that we can do what they are saying we can't do. Normally, we're not supposed to be proving to people. But yes, we are in the situation whereby we actually continuously prove to the society that we can perform more than even expected. And because of that, we do things in a very, very good way, that it ensures that there is sustainability, and then there is success in what we do. Then another study that I read shows that in organizations where there are women in their top managements, this organization actually performs 14% better than other organizations that do not have women in their top management. So imagine if you think your company is profitable and you are just men in that organization. Now bringing women on to your organization, you have more profitability of averagely about 14%, according to that research. So it shows that when women come on board, when we join organizations, even in the energy sector, we bring in more profitability, we bring in increase in, or we bring in a lot of diversity to ensure that these organizations and even the energy sector, they are women touched. They are women touched. So now, why is it that women do not really join the energy sector? Let me bring it down to STEM, because though there are several value chains in the energy sector, you don't even have to be a STEM person or a science person to be in the energy sector. There are different value chains, and as you can see, Chemela said she didn't actually have a STEM background, and now she is in the science, she's in the energy sector. But now let me just bring that background to it, because a lot of other aspects, especially the engineering aspect, they are STEM related, and women do think they don't have that will or that knowledge, which is very, very wrong. I would say it is not even the woman that actually thinks it. It is the society that actually puts these ideas into us right from our childhood, and even right from our immediate nuclear family. You hear some women or some children, or some family, not even women only, parents telling their kids, you can't be a mechanical engineer because, oh, you're a woman, or you just stay in the kitchen, let your brother be watching the TV or something like that. So all these stereotypes and all these biases start from our society. And because of that, we have underrepresentation of women in STEM, which now leads to having underrepresentation of women in sciences and science subjects, because we are already biased right from the beginning. So we have to actually start changing our orientation right from our homes, right from the nuclear family, to our communities, to our religious organizations, to our immediate communities, and ensuring that all these biased statements that, no, you can't be a doctor because you're a woman, you can only be a nurse, and we're telling our nieces, our nephews, you're even telling our nephews, oh, she is a woman, she is to want to be one in the kitchen or something like that. Yeah, if a woman decides to be in the kitchen, why not? Let her be. But if a woman also decides to be an engineer, or a child, a girl is saying she wants to be an engineer, please hail her, encourage her, and ensure that you give her all the guidance to do so. And which is one thing that I'm very, very passionate about, which actually led to me founding an NGO that does that, Girls and Women Technological Empowerment Organization, where we support girls right from a very, very young age to have skills in the tech space, to have skills in the renewable energy space. We start introducing them to different engineering skills, letting them to even play with solar cells, start building solar panels right from a very, very young age, as young as 10 years old. And with this, we have more representation of women in STEM, we have more representation of women in tech as time goes on, and we have more representation of women in the energy sector. I remember even the energy sector, we can, even if you're not in STEM, you actually have a space as a woman in the energy sector. There's energy lawyer, there are accountants, there are data analysts. There are several aspects of the energy sector that women can actually work in. So thank you so much. I would like to stop now because of time, and I hope I've been able to add more knowledge to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Damilola. Yes, your session was quite insightful because as women, we are always at the home front, and energy is one thing that is very important to everybody. Sometimes I feel like after, you know, the breath that we breathe in, energy is the next, you know, thing that is very crucial to our survival as human beings, because we use energy in different, to cook, to power our devices, and, you know, all of those things. Thank you so much, Dami. So I would share a poll now so that we know that everyone, you know, listened through Damilola's session. So just give us your response as usual, and let's see. So do you have access to reliable energy in your home and business? So let's see, this is Nigeria. Let us know the status of things for us. Interesting. Okay. The result shows that a lot of persons have access to reliable energy in their home. And I want to believe that probably because we have alternatives to energy right now. We no longer have to depend on the grid to, you know, access energy. There are other forms of energy. Renewable energy is very much available in Nigeria now, thankfully. And also, Dami has encouraged us as women to, you know, explore this sector. Let's not think that, oh, it's only the guys that can, you know, succeed in the energy sector. As a woman, you can, you know, you can always look out for this sector and, you know, explore the opportunities that are there. So moving on, we're almost wrapping up the session. I know time is fast spent. So if you have a question, I think this would be the right time to ask your questions. I have allowed everyone to unmute themselves, but please, I think it should also be ideal to raise your hand so that we know who is speaking and at what point you are speaking, and then you unmute yourself, and then you can, you know, ask any of the speakers. All of the speakers are still on the call except Miss Yemi. She had to drop off because she had other things to attend to. So please unmute and, you know, ask your questions while our speakers are still here. We are waiting for the questions, please. No one has a question. Okay, Velvita, Vivian. Okay, think you can unmute yourself now.
Hi everyone, I'm Velvita. I'm not from Nigeria, I'm from Cameroon.
Thank you for joining us.
I just wanted to appreciate the speakers for sharing quite some interesting insights. I wanted to ask a question, not specifically to any of the, not particularly to any speaker, but to whoever can give a response. For a country like, let's say, Nigeria, where there's, a lot of progress in terms of how even the government allows for people to have alternative forms of, of energy, either their generators, the use of solar panels. For countries like, let me say where I come from, the ability to either have accreditation or even the potential for the government to grant access to such companies to actually operate is very rigid. So I'm wondering how, if anyone can share, what are the routes that you can use to draw attention to the need for such alternative forms of energy, especially like the use of solar panels, because for quite a bit of time now we've been having quite some power cuts, and it's like regulatory where a formal announcement goes out from the official energy operating company, light operating company, that says we're going to be out of light from this period to this period. And this can go on for like 24 hours in some areas, 48 hours in some other areas. And we do not have these alternative forms of renewable energy, either even rechargeable lamps. Those are not readily available in the market. How can, individuals or companies that are interested in such sectors get, the government's, or at least create a favorable environment where people start believing that there's a need for such things to be able to survive?
Can I go ahead with it, NCIC?
Okay, no, would any of the speakers like to answer Velvita's question as regards energy?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is Damilola on the line.
Okay, yes, you can answer the question.
Okay, so thank you. So I think the best way to go about that is actually to engage the government, because where there is strict regulations, then you can't just and that regulation is being implemented. It's different in countries like Nigeria, where there are even some of the regulations are not properly implemented. But in your own case, where there's a regulation as regards to energy, and that regulation is being implemented, and you can't have renewable energy by yourself, then you have to actually engage with the government. You have to have stakeholder meetings with the government. You have to let your government actually see that it is very, very important for them to even embrace green businesses and green energy. Because even if you have 100% electricity, you still need to reduce your carbon footprint as a country. European countries or other countries that actually have access to energy, they are actually embracing green sources of energy. So now talking about a country that does not even have access to 24/7 energy. So you must actually try as much as possible to bring your government to see the reason why they have to allow you to start having access to green sources of energy, be it as a decentralized energy or as a centralized one. So that is what you have to do. But this might not be, you might not be the only person that needs to do this, but yes, it starts from somewhere, letting your voice to be heard, trying to get their attention. That is what you can do.
Thank you, Damilola. Raya, you're raising your hand. Do you want to make a contribution to that question?
Not only I just want to Yeah, I also have questions, and also for me it's important because it was so interesting and enriching. I just want to hear from you and to put on discussion how we can make some practical steps in the next, as a next steps. You know, there are a lot of problems that are structural, there are a lot of problems that are maybe long-term, but I want to hear maybe how we can sustain this discussion in this kind of network, some practical measures that we can take, that we're just not having this discussion and this network only on the 8th of March, but throughout the year. So for example, I have also in the framework of the Green Startup.ng platform, I have like noted maybe some pragmatic things that we can do is about structured mentorship program, network building, and women-led green investment. So this is the thing that I maybe as an immediate outcome of this meeting we can structure on the platform.
Okay, yes, thank you so much, Brian, for the suggestions. Definitely, the Green Startup and NCIC, we would, keep this conversation going. That was one of the plans, not to just have it end here today just because we are trying to commemorate the International Women's Day, but going forward, we hope to harness, the ideas and the tools that we've gotten as a result of this knowledge sharing session to, provide structured mentorship and, guidance for female entrepreneurs and any other entrepreneurs in the green space. Yes, so we have someone else whose hands is raised. Theresa, do you want to unmute yourself now and speak? If Theresa is not available, I saw Onyinyechi's hand.
I'm available. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
It was a very nice session. I followed from the beginning to this time, and I must say that I have learned so much.
Yes,
yeah, I want to make a contribution as regards the plastics and then recycling and then waste picking. These things we have to start from within. Flooding has become a part of us, and it's a problem. These PET bottles and nylons, they go block these drainages and then flood is caused. So what I would like to say here is, if every family will be encouraged to begin to keep the PET and then have these people come around to pick them instead of just dumping them in their gutters and going to block drainages, So if this will be put in place, it will go a long way to just curb these drainages, blockages, and all the rest, And then there are companies, recyclers, who buy this set off. So if we just put these things together and then we give these recyclers.
Okay, Theresa, thank you so much for your contribution. Yes, we all know that the plastic pollution or the waste management problem in Nigeria is also a behavioral challenge as well. People are not, willing to take the right step in ensuring a sustainable disposal of their waste. It's obvious that the solutions are there already. We have a lot of recyclers, we have a lot of off-takers, and we have a lot of organizations that are working towards combating this challenge. But then again, we also recognize the behavioral problem for a lot of Nigerians. They are not really willing to dispose their waste properly. That is why we've come up with a lot of incentives to encourage people to dispose of their waste properly, and we'll continue to do our part. So if you're on this call, ensure that you incorporate sustainability practices in your daily living to ensure that our society is better and cleaner for everyone. Are there any more questions? So that we can wrap this up in the next 5 minutes.
I raised up my hand earlier.
Okay, please unmute yourself. Onyinyechi, is that Onyinyechi speaking?
Yes, it is. Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you to all the speakers. It was such an insightful session.
Thank you.
My name is Chike Onyuchi, and I run Kozesim, which is a circular fashion brand here in Lagos, Nigeria. And what we do is that we collect fashion waste and we resell some of them and we redistribute some of them. So I'm happy to meet Mrs. Ajake because I followed her for a while. So I want to make like a bit of comment. So when it comes to circularity and green economy, there's a lot of conversation around plastics and all that. And we don't really put a lot of conversation around fashion waste, circularity in the fashion space and all that. And we understand that, yeah, there are a lot of players in the fashion industry, but there is not like the conversation around the waste that is being produced and the waste that is being accumulated in that industry is not being emphasized. I've been doing this for 18 months, 2 years. And every time I try to find resources, I try to find maybe organizations that are pushing this. And when I even find some of the secular organizations, it's mostly around plastics, recycling plastic. So I want to understand if it's a conversation problem or if there's something going on that maybe there are already projects that are going on in these areas that I'm not aware of, or is something that I don't know. I just want to understand why the circularity when it comes to the fashion industry is not being, the awareness is not happening as much as it should.
Okay, Onyechi, just to give a little input into your question or an insight before other speakers can also share their ideas if they have any. I want you to understand that the green economy is an emerging one in Nigeria. As an organization, we are trying as much as possible to drive this growth. That is why we have sessions like this. We have our programs, our mentorship programs, our capacity building programs to connect the few or the existing entrepreneurs in certain sectors to the ones that are trying to come up. So we understand that we are still at the growth stage. And so we are trying as much as possible to create the awareness. Awareness is actually a problem, and also the lack of availability of entrepreneurs in this sector. That is why the green economy is a sector that is filled with a lot of innovation, meaning you have new ideas come up every day. People try to do things differently. And so as an organization, we try to harness these innovations. We try to merge them and connect them to the right resources and with the right funding so that they can scale and become readily available for everyday use in Nigeria. As regard the opportunities, maybe you'd want to follow the NCIC on social media, and not just us, there are other organizations in this space that that when you connect with, you definitely have access to the resources that you are looking for. Is there any speaker that would want to also provide input to Onyinyechi's questions? Is Adejoke still on the call? Maybe she can also speak about this. Okay, Onyinyechi, does that answer your question? I don't think Adejoke is still on the call.
Yeah. So thank you for the reply. I was not hoping that I get to hear from part 2. And I've been following you guys for a while too, so I'll be looking out for
for the opportunities and all of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So does any other person have a question? Okay, in the absence of that, so that we can wrap up and everyone can go about their other activities for the day, I would put again in the chat box, or the host can help me with that, the green startup.ng platform. It's a virtual marketplace for green startups, and we are hoping to see more women come on board this platform. The platform would serve as an avenue for green entrepreneurs to connect and network with each other. So just like the question Onyinyechi has raised, sometimes it's as though as a green entrepreneur, you are going alone. You don't get to see your colleagues. You don't get to assess them. You don't get to, share in their success stories and also their challenges, which is one thing that is very important for every sector. If you look around you in the tech space, in finance, in banking, you see that the people who play in this space, they are always together. They always have each other's back. You see them moving together. So that is one thing we as an organization were trying to build in this sector. We hope to see more green entrepreneurs, come together, collaborate, transact their businesses, share ideas, access funding, access investors, and, hopefully the change that we've been looking for, we are going to see that. So if you check the chat box, you are going to see the website, click on it, or if it's not clickable, you can copy and paste in your browser, and to take you straight to the platform where you would register. Upon registration, we as an organization, we would process your registration, and if you are fit for what we are looking for. Now, that does not mean that everybody is not welcome to be on the platform. Every and anyone, as long as you're a green entrepreneur, from maybe you are still trying to grow, or you've grown, you've scaled your business, everyone is welcome to be on that platform. The platform will serve as a means to channel visibility, mentorship, and connections. Beyond you doing it all by yourself, you also get to meet people that are doing this thing and have succeeded. And if you fail, you also get to see people who lend you a hand to to stand again. So that being said, thank you so much. We hope to do this again and expand the reach beyond women. I saw something that Raya put on the chat where she talks about making sure, even as women, that the kids, the children at home, they are more connected to you. So whatever you do, whatever practice that you do, these children, they see it and they imitate it. So we encourage you to impute sustainability in your lifestyle, impute sustainability in your business, and just make sure that things are better for everyone. And together we would successfully transition to the green economy that we have always envisioned. Thank you so much on behalf of myself and the entire NCIC team. I hope I was being heard, because it seems I just ended the session and no one was listening.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much to all of the speakers, Chiemela, Damilola, Frances, Mrs. Yemi, Ms. Adejoke, thank you so much. Thank you. We hope to have you, interact and also engage with you in the future. Thank you so much. Have a pleasant day.
Before you end the meeting,
okay.
Sorry, is there a recording for the meeting?
Yes,
later?
there is. Yeah, there is.
Okay.
So I would share the recording via a Google Drive to everyone that registered for this session, so that they can go back,
Yes.
listen, because
email,
we all know that whatever was shared here is very insightful, and if you really absorb it, implement it, then definitely you are on your way to success. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Yes. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.